What's up, guys? I'm back, and I'm driving on the wrong side of the road again because I'm still here in Japan. I actually go home at the end of May, so I'll be making videos with my friends and family and my girlfriend and all that fun stuff. Today I'm actually going to make a Life in Okinawa video because a lot of people keep asking, can I see another Life in Okinawa video? So today I'm going to go out off base because, you know, like Life in Okinawa wouldn't make sense if I was on a military base because doesn't really make it Life in Okinawa. It makes it life on a military base. Just got out the gate. I'm gonna get here on 58 here right off of gate 1 on Kadena. That person just went completely through a red light. I'm gonna play the replay, but now it's a green light. But that car that just took off right there just completely ran a red light. We get a lot of questions of like, are you allowed off base? Are you allowed to drive over there? Do you need a car? How do you pay for things off base? Pretty sure I would have had those same questions before I left. I just never thought about it because I never like watched someone's videos living in Japan, because I didn't even think I was going to be living in Japan until I got orders here and I was like, I'm going to be living in Japan. All right, to clear some things up, the yen rate yesterday was 105 yen for the $1 American, which means it's pretty much the same, because 100 yen and $1, like 100 yen and 100 pennies, is pretty similar. Off base and on base, we pay pretty much the same price. This make more sense. They pretty much do it in like all pennies. They say everything in pennies. Like we say dollars, we're not like, yeah, that'll cost you 600 pennies. Here they're like, that'll cost 600 yen. But we just say $6 because that's what 600 pennies is. But here they still say 600 yen. So when people ask how do you pay for things or how do you get yen, because you cannot use your like credit card or debit card off base. Well, some places, most places you can't. On base they actually have ATMs, which on base you can use your debit card, your credit card, American money, because it's an American installation. But off base most places don't accept our cards and don't accept the American dollar. So on base they have plenty of ATM machines which you can withdraw money, and you can withdraw cash as in the American dollar, or you can withdraw yen. So that's how we pay for stuff off base. And to answer some questions, yes, we are allowed off base. Right now I'm driving off base. And also something I want to talk about was vehicles, because people do not understand driving over here, or I know it's confusing. Like I'm on the left side of the road, the steering wheel's on the right side of the car. But like it must take forever to get used to. It only took me a few days to get used to, and in the last like 7 months I've only driven on the wrong side of the road, being the right side of the road in America. I've only done that twice in the last like 7 months, so it's really not that hard. Sometimes I just happened to accidentally do it while I was really tired and like on my way to work one day and just didn't think, and it was like, why are these vehicles coming directly towards me? And then I'm like, oh, because I'm not in America. But as far as getting your license here and buying a car here, the military installations will offer you a class. Basically get a license through the military, but it allows us to drive off base. So my license is issued by the US government to allow me to drive over here. But say if I mess up on base, like get a DUI, which is drinking and driving, which you should never do, which I will make a video about underage drinking and driving because it seems to be a huge issue and it ruins a lot of people's careers, and it's just an issue that needs to be addressed, and I feel like I have somewhat of a positive influence on a few thousand people, so maybe I can help. But say I was to get a DUI off base, they're very strict here in Japan. The blood alcohol level for DUI here is 0.03, and in the United States it's 0.08. So, and people think that they're mad in the United States when they get a DUI because they blew a 0.09. If you blew a 0.09 here in Japan, you're 3 times over the legal limit. And a lot of people will complain in the United States for barely being over the legal limit, but here that'd be 3 times over the legal limit. And they don't mess around with that stuff. It would actually be like a $2,000 fine. And you would get your license restricted if you were off base here. The American government or the military installation, they'll pull your driver's license for 2 years. So you won't be able to drive because the American government issues us our license to drive over here. And if you don't have that license, you can't go off base and get a license. So you just lost your driving privileges for 2 years. And you have to stay here as long as the military wants you to be. Like, if you have 3 years left here on this island, 2 of those years you're not going to get to drive. But that's how the license stuff works here. On base, if you get in trouble, usually you only lose your license for like 2 months or 6 months or a year, sometimes 2 years. If you get in trouble at the gate, usually that's more severe because you were just coming from off base. So don't mess around with drinking and driving, especially in Japan, because it is no joke here. They take it very serious. People also want to know how getting a car works. I've had people ask me, do the military supply you with vehicles? And that is a no. That's going to be a purchase you're going to have to make as your own vehicle, and people want to know how you get one when you go overseas. Well, to be honest, you get one just like you would in the United States. Overseas, we have this thing called bookoo.com, bookoo.com, and it's like Craigslist. If you've ever heard of Craigslist, that's what it is. It's Craigslist for overseas, mostly for military. And so a lot of people post on Bookoo their vehicles when they're selling it, just like people do on Craigslist. You can also go off base because they have car dealerships. Wouldn't entirely recommend that, because you guys know how car dealerships are back in the United States. They're gonna try not to give you the best deal because they need to make money, and that's the same place over here. They need to make money, and you don't speak their language, so they can kind of pull your leg a little more. It's just a lot harder because the language barrier here. If you use bookoo.com, you can buy a vehicle directly from a military member that's PCSing off this base to another base, or PCSing back home, or people just looking to sell their cars because they buy a car and then they sell it. So you can actually buy it from someone who's American, because we have this like Craigslist over here. And I actually didn't even have to look on Bookoo, because when I got here, some guy in my shop the next month was leaving, and he was like, hey, any new airmen, do you want to buy my vehicle? Because I need to sell it, I'm leaving. And I was like, me, please, $1,250? And I'm like, sure. I didn't really care, because I just needed a vehicle, and that's $1,250 is pretty cheap. I've only put, in the last 9 months I've been here, I've only put like $400 into this vehicle, so I'm pretty happy with it. But that's exactly how you would buy a vehicle over here. You would just buy it from someone else, and then you would still have to do the same stuff. You do have to get insurance over here. That's not paid for because it's your personal car, so the military won't pay for your insurance. So you have to go off base to get insurance, and there's a place literally right out of gate 1 off base that they speak somewhat good English, and that's where I got my insurance from, because it's real close, and it's like $600 a year or something. Also, gas for my car costs a lot more off base. I'm not sure the exact conversion of how much they pay off base per gallon, because they buy it in liters and we buy it in gallons, but I do know it's more expensive off base. If you have a good motorcycle or a nice car and you would prefer to put a higher octane gas in it, you have to come off base and pay quite a bit more for your gas. But I don't really care about my car. In Japan, we have a curfew, at least in Okinawa. I don't know about mainland Japan. For Misawa and Yokota, the 2 Air Force bases we have in mainland. If most of you don't know, Okinawa is like an island of Japan that is 300 miles south of mainland Japan. When you see Japan on a map, you're not looking at Okinawa, because Okinawa is this little dot in the ocean. I'll just throw up a little map right here. It's right there. And nobody really knows that for the most part. I did not know where Okinawa was until I got orders here and then looked it up on a map. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to Japan. But it is Japan. But it's like not in actual Japan where I thought it was. But yes, here in Okinawa, we do have a curfew. It is midnight for us to be, if you live on base, at midnight you have to be back on base, unless you have a hotel off base, and then at midnight you have to be back in your hotel room. We're also not allowed to go out and drink off base unless it's between 6 and 10 p.m. and it's with dinner at a restaurant. We're not allowed to go to a bar or anywhere that its main sales is alcohol. We're not allowed to drink there. On base, you can drink as much as you want. I'm gonna make a video about American restaurants and food places, because people are like, do you even eat American food on base? Yes, we do have American food on base, and we have a Chili's on base actually, so like a grill and a bar. So people go there all the time and drink, because on base you can drink as much as you want. You just can't drive, because like off base, on base, since we are in Japan, we follow their rules. Drinking age is 20 years old, so a 20-year-old on base can drink, but the legal limit for a DUI is 0.03, which is about 1 drink. So if you have 1 drink, you're not able to drive. That's pretty much the ruling on that. Our curfew also lasts till, I think it's 5 a.m. So midnight to 5 a.m. I live on base. I live in the dorms. So midnight to 5 a.m. I have to be inside the gate. And then at 5 a.m. we can go back off base. You're probably wondering, do people actually follow all of these rules? No, they don't. And that's why a lot of people get in trouble. You would think, like, you're in the military, you're gonna follow all these rules that you have, and you're gonna take pride in like all the work you put in to get to where you are. But people get DUIs all the time. People lose rank, which means they lose stripes, and people also get kicked out. I know quite a few people that have been kicked out because of drinking or breaking rules. If you violate the curfew, sometimes you'll lose ranks. I would highly suggest not breaking the rules because it just makes it better for you. You can have less to worry about. And then a lot of people complain when they get caught. They're like, oh, whatever, so-and-so tried to like blah, 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 pin this on me and tried to get me in trouble. And it's like, man, I don't know how someone tried to get you in trouble. You were doing something that was gonna get you in trouble. You got yourself in trouble. And we live in this world where this mentality is like, oh, the cops pulled me over for speeding. A lot of people like to place blame on cops. I'm not saying cops are perfect people, because they're not. Like, cops break rules. Everybody breaks rules. But someone's job, if you go and order pizza from Pizza Hut and they forget something, you get mad at them. Why? Because they didn't do their job. But then when a cop does their job, pulls you over for doing something you shouldn't be, or you get in trouble for something you shouldn't have been doing, we automatically get mad at authority for that. But then we expect everyone else to do their job. So why are we getting mad at police officers for enforcing the law? And a lot of people are like, well, they don't follow the law. But nobody's perfect. So if you're saying that only perfect people can enforce the law, that would mean there would be no laws. And I don't think you would want to live in a world like that. I mean, I wouldn't, because if no laws were ever enforced and there were no guidelines, because like only people that hadn't done certain things could enforce stuff, the world would be so, like, it would just be a mess. It would be a terrible mess. So stop getting mad at people for getting you in trouble when you're doing something that'll get you in trouble. Just don't do something that'll get you in trouble. If you don't want to get in trouble, follow the rules. If you want to possibly get in trouble, break the rules. If you break the rules, be ready to own up to what you did, because it's your fault. It's not someone else's fault for getting you in trouble. I'm going on a rant right now because it just makes me mad that people get mad at other people. Like, if you mess up, you mess up. It's your fault. I'm just saying. Don't blame that on someone else. Take responsibility. Be a man or a woman. Be a grown-up. Take responsibility for your actions. Now, this video is actually going to be about what American places there are to eat off base. Because a lot of people are like, if you off base, do they have any food that you would like? Yes, they do have American products off base. They do have American pop. They do have some American candies. Pretty much without me rambling any longer, these are the places that we have in America that they also have in Okinawa. OMG, like, I could totally survive in Okinawa, Japan, because they have a Starbucks coffee, which totally means I could have my Frappuccino chocolate caramel latte. Not to mention that I'm like a caffeine addict, so I always need my coffee like every single day, like multiple times a day. And like, I was always scared about leaving the United States because I didn't know if they had Starbucks coffees, but now that they have Starbucks coffees everywhere, I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself. Like, OMG. This is just to show you guys that they do have some American drinks. They got Pepsi, Mountain Dew, and then they got Pepsi Zero. And then most vending machines actually have Coke products, but this one doesn't, so I'm actually surprised. But yeah, they do have American drinks here too, off base, like in all their vending machines. I've also seen Sbarro's Pizza here. They have all sorts of frozen yogurt shops and ice cream shops. So really, if you want to have what Americans consider normal food, you can find it here very easily. But it's usually going to be in the source of fast food. You cannot go to a grocery store and get American food here because they just don't have our products. So that wraps it up for this episode of Life in Okinawa. Hope you guys enjoyed, and check out the bloopers.
Bye.